Oh, the cringe factor is off the charts. Hey guys, this is Cincinnati 2100 and we've got a treat today. Remember Ace Attorney? You know, the murder mystery game where you play as an attorney who defends innocent clients for crimes they didn't commit and you conveniently catch the true culprit at the same time. This franchise became quickly one of my favorite franchises of all time. This game is the reason for the existence of Danganronpa, you know, the game I ranted about it a year ago. Ace Attorney has some of my favorite games I've ever played in recent memories, games like the original trilogy, Apollo Justice, the Investigation series. These were great times. And then there is a game like Dual Destinies, a game that I liked for quite some times, until I played another game called Spirit of Justice, and the issues with Dual Destinies started to surface and reveal itself. Look, I'm not gonna say that Dual Destinies is a bad game, but the issues with this game made it easily the worst Ace Attorney game I've ever played in my opinion. I have no problem with people liking DD, but let's admit it, the game is bogged down with some serious issues that I need to clarify. Let's talk about the big elephant in the room. The legendary Phoenix Wright. Let's talk a little history lesson, shall we? Phoenix Wright was a newbie attorney who lacks experience, but we all root for to win. He used to win every trial he participate in by believing in his clients and a sheer amount of luck, that until a certain client named Matt Engard turned out to be a mastermind behind blackmailing and murdering, Phoenix learned a lesson that not every client he defends is always innocent. He also learned that the truth is all that it matters more than the verdict itself. In trials and tribulations he continues his pursuit for the truth. At the end of the game he learns what is meant to be a lawyer, and his job is to find the truth to save everyone, even the culprit. Now we are going to a very controversial place right now. Enter Apollo Justice, where your first client to defend is nothing but the man himself, Phoenix Wright, where we find out that he's no longer an attorney anymore. His personality has changed. He's no longer that lovable goofball that we all know and love. He's more calm, collected, confident. We found out that he lost his badge 7 years prior. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that Hobo Phoenix is one of the best things in the game. You know the phrase bad things happen to good people? That's exactly what happened to Phoenix in this game. He got set up by an evil person that we all know. He ended up accepting it like a man. He lost everything including his job and his badge. The only thing he got is a little child called Trucy. He ended up taking care of her while deciding to know who set him up, getting to know a lawyer called Christoph Gavin, a renowned attorney who's totally a good guy. Just look at his hand and tell me he's not. Phoenix helps Apollo catching Gavin in one of the most shocking twists in the game. He didn't stop there. He wanted to know what happened in those 7 years. He wanted to know about Trucy's parents, the Missums, and we had a nice little backstory about Apollo. He ends up setting up the jurist system because, as we all know, it's not Ace Attorney unless the law is corrupted. There are some people who view Phoenix in Apollo Justice as a soulless, vengeful person, but if he simply wanted revenge, he could have stopped at case 1 and done nothing afterwards, but his pursuit to find the truth to save others makes him a great character in my book. Originally, after the game was made with Phoenix in mind, Apollo Justice, the game, and the character were there so Phoenix can pass the torch to a new generation, with a new legal system in order to counter the corrupt law that spanned through 4 games. But we all know that this never happened. Instead, it happened in the great Ace Attorney spin-off that takes during the Sherlock Holmes period. Introducing Dual Destinies. This is where it gets bad. Phoenix Wright gets his badge back and returns as the main character, and then here comes the magical, mystical Dark Age of the Law, which destroys Apollo Justice's ending because fans hated and bitched about the game at that time. I'll talk about the Dark Age of the Law later. Phoenix Wright returns and gets his badge back. That's fine, but his character was completely changed from his confident self in AJ to being the lovable goofball that we knew and loved, which is actually a bad thing. He's in his mid-30s, he's not 24 years old anymore, and he's somehow acting like a high school teenage student who has a crush on a girl. Not only that destroys his character, but it completely destroys the development he had in the original trilogy and Apollo Justice. Every time I see him react to every bluff debunked, I just cringe hard. It made me wonder why I liked his character to even begin with, and I'm certain I'm not the only one who feel that. Besides, he seems like he's now a bipolar character. When you're not playing as him, he's calm and collected. But when you're playing as him, he's a goofball. It's like his swiping personalities back and forth, like a certain best character in Danganronpa. Phoenix being the main character and being a complete goofball was really one of the worst parts of DD so far, and Phoenix himself was the worst main character in the whole game.
We don't even like Psylocke anyway. He's not even the favorite.
No. As great as Yuri is, I mean, Psylocke's wrong. I mean, he looked at Apollo, he looked like he was dead on the ground, and the photo made it look like he wrote words trying to frame the killer.
100!
100! I can't believe this! I quit!
So shocking!
I've never seen this before. It's not like the lost turnabout happened.
I was literally playing that case, and I just, when I stopped playing the game was when it just got so annoying. I was just like, it was the part in like the lobby when after Apollo was found dead, but then Athena out of nowhere brings up the fact that she was reading an article on Bigfoot from like the tabloids, and then Phoenix is in his head, well, you're reading too many of those paparazzi magazines, and then nobody's really responding, and then Athena goes, yeah, it's a really interesting story you guys should read, I couldn't do it justice, and then Juniper's like, justice? Question mark, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, come on, that's so like not good writing.
Not at all.
And by the way, Phoenix was not the only one who was felt disrespected. Apollo Justice was also a victim of DD as well. There are a lot of people who thought that Apollo was basically a Phoenix Wright clone, a weak protagonist in his own game, and they liked the new Apollo in DD and Spirit of Justice. They didn't understand Apollo's character like myself and other people. I'll talk about the difference between Apollo's character in his own game and the one in DD. Apollo Justice was a different character from Phoenix from the original trilogy. They may share similar traits, but personality-wise, they are two different characters with different goals. In his first case, his goal already is to find the truth and nothing else. That was everybody's favorite human being Christoph Gavin taught him. However, in case 3 and 4, when he went to take down Mr. Rubber Hair over there and his favorite mentor, he doesn't have the evidence that supports his claim. Despite that all the logic and common sense supports his claim, he himself questions how he is supposed to bring justice when the law itself protects criminals. He starts to question the law, and even the judge himself at the end of case 3 starts to question the law too, which was a good foreshadowing to what is going to happen at case 4. When they introduced the jurist system that Hobo Phoenix made, at the end of the trial, Apollo vows out to find out what the law is, and vowing to change it if necessary. And by the way, that was not the Quran law, that was the law in this game at that time. DD of course came out and said nope, and Apollo was reduced to a side character. When I saw him in the monstrous turnabout, this game is a monstrosity, I felt that this character was held back by something. I couldn't sense it. I don't know if he's being held back by Phoenix himself or Athena. He was brushed to the side for a while until we found out that he has a friend in case 3, and we found out in case 4 that his friend was killed, and he vowed to avenge him. And people actually thought that this was a character development. First of all, him wanting to avenge his friend's killer and his backstory of I am fine is not a character development. Did the writers forgot what his backstory was in his own game? Look, I don't have a problem with Apollo's backstory of him having a friend, but this backstory he got was poorly implemented. Talking about his catchphrase I am fine is not a character development, that's him talking about his quirks. It doesn't have anything to do with a character development, that's more like a baby's writing. He cries over the death of his friend, just like every other character in media ever. And I love that Apollo got his quote time to shine unquote, by accusing Athena as the murderer in case 5. It's like the game decided to make us forget that he already accused Christoph Gavin of murder in his own first case. He is basically trying to be cool, but instead he became more edgy. Trucy Wright has basically became a running gag when she was a very useful assistant in AJ. She does nothing because the game decided that it's time to introduce a new character to freshen out the series, even thought Apollo, Trucy and Clavier are fresh new characters. Peril, Faye and Edgeworth return. Yahoo! I don't care. It's time to talk about the new characters that are introduced to the game. Athena Sykes, I didn't like her at first because she was introduced to hog the spotlight from characters like Apollo and Trucy, but I think she is a fine protagonist, not as good as Phoenix, Apollo, or Edgeworth, but she a fine addition. I wished they would have introduced her at Ace Attorney 7 instead of this game. The biggest issue with her character is the mood matrix. I'm not a fan of this mode because it's basically a watered down version of the bracelet, and although the bracelet is not a perfect minigame, they could have improved upon it by reducing it to 3 testimonies, but the devs went lazy. The difference between these two minigames, Apollo is looking at the witness and senses that there is something wrong with their behaviors. Athena just busts out the machine and says, "Hey guys, I'm going to use my mood matrix," and she is the only one to use it, and no one sees this is a problem. Even this is the dark age of the law and no one trusts each other in the court of law, which is a serious issue. Simon Blackquill is probably the best part of this game, he's the saving grace of the game. Bobby Fulbright was fine, but in case 5, The Dark Age of the Law is probably the most overhyped theme I've seen in Ace Attorney. It's basically lawyers and prosecutors forge evidences to win, that's what this game at least tells you, but unfortunately they never show you anything at all. This game actually goes with the motto tell but don't show instead of vice versa. The Dark Age of the Law exists because of Phoenix's disbarment and Simon Blackquill killing someone. Which, by the way, what makes a prosecutor killing someone is all of a sudden a heinous act despite the fact that there are 2 prosecutors before him ended up committing a murder. People somewhat tried to justify this bullshit on GameFAQs when I came up with this issue years ago, except I'm not convinced. Can anyone please enlighten me? Show me the way why the Dark Age of the Law makes sense. Basically this game pretends that everything before the Dark Age was rainbows and sunshine, while this is the dark times where the law was reduced to rubbles, and it's time to restore it to its former glory. You know, like the law that says guilty until proven innocent, like when someone gets accused of murder and then the trial begins the next day, and then if not concluded, the trial is the day after, and then the day after, until proven guilty. Yeah, that's a great law right there. The Dark Age is nothing but a buzzword. The trials goes the same as any other trials and then the music hits and someone says, "It's the Dark Age of the Law." Oh no. The Dark Age of the Law is here. What are we going to do? We are living at the Dark Age of the Law. It's like the developers knew it's not going to work, so they decided to make it a buzzword that makes no sense. Basically the trials are just the same as the previous games, and then someone mentions the Dark Age of the Law and everyone reacts like this is the end of the world. It's Judgment Day where the innocent is guilty and the guilty is innocent and all that nonsense this game dishes out to hide the fact that it's poorly implemented. And for the cases, it's a letdown. Case 1 was a solid opener for DD standards, Case 2 was a watered down version of Case 2 from Apollo Justice. But Case 3, man, that was the worst case I've ever played. It's filled with a bunch of anime stereotypes, annoying characters, the bond between Juniper Fools, Hugh O'Connor and Robin Oldman is cringe-inducing. The case was super predictable. You already know that neither Robin Oldman nor Hugh O'Connor is the killer. Day 1 was a waste of time. Robin's reveal as a female did absolutely nothing except to waste time. Day 2 was the excellence of cringe. The stupid friendship theme was shoved down our throat. The friendship scene was awful. The other cringe-worthy moment when Athena was down her knees and everyone is cheering for her. What is this? An anime? The worst part of it, Professor Arbistoli memes, is way too suspicious from the get-go, saying his most iconic phrase, "The end justifies the means." Every 10 minutes, there is no hint of subtlety, no clever foreshadowing, he's just "I'm evil" and that's it. And about the Dark Age of the Laws, they established that the reason it exists is because lawyers and prosecutors don't trust each other. despite the fact that Apollo Justice established that the problem with the legal system is the system itself. You guys are absolutely geniuses. This case was bad on so many different levels, and I was so happy to see the end of the case, and about those idiots, I don't wanna see these clowns ever again in another game. Case 4 and Case 5 should have been one case, but Case 5 has one of the worst climax I've ever seen. Let's talk about the most dangerous villain of all dangerous villainy, the Phantom. Nobody knows where he come from, no one knows who he is, we don't know how did he cause the Dark Age of the Fools, all you know that he caused it with no explanation given. The Phantom is basically the best thing ever since Junko Ino's Hima. He has no personality whatsoever, this character makes no sense at all. He got proven to be emotional despite that he accomplishes physical feats that requires no emotion, which contradicts the fact that he's emotional. He gets defeated by the mood matrix conveniently. His motive for his crimes is as amazing as every low-level criminal ever. If you look at the previous main villains in every Ace Attorney game, Manfred's motive was his perfect record has been tarnished. Matt Engard is a terrible person. Godot's motive was revenge. Christopher's motive was jealousy. Damon Gant's motive was power. Quercus Alba's motive was power. Simon Keyes's motive was revenge, but the Phantom's motive was, you guess it, money. Yes, money. Well, at least his motive wasn't as bad as that stupid clown over there. And the biggest thing that pisses me off, that we didn't get to know what exactly the Phantom looks like. Look, imagine if you're watching a movie about a serial killer, and the mystery is to figure out who is the killer, and you catch the killer, but you don't know who did the crime, and the movie ends. You would have destroyed this movie and tore it to shreds. This was by far the most insulting ending in Ace Attorney's history, because if that ever happened in Trials and Tribulations or Apollo Justice or the Investigation series, I would never pass up a chance to give this game a massive beatdown. They call it a murder mystery for good reason, that every murder mystery all the answers must be revealed. And the fact that we still don't know who the Phantom was and how he did his crimes makes it a major disappointment. The character who was all hype and no substance and nothing was going for him other than him causing the Dark Age of whatever, which was nonsense. And everything is hunky-dory after they caught the Phantom and the Dark Age has finally come to an end, even though Edgeworth is the chief prosecutors at that time and he did nothing to expel all the corrupt prosecutors, including Gaspin Payne of all people. What, he's a corrupt prosecutor and you couldn't do anything about it? And by the way, Clavier is in this game for 15 minutes just to try and please all the angry Apollo Justice fans, even though Dual Destinies ignored everything the previous game did, including the jurist system and Christoph Gavin. With all being said, do I hate Dual Destinies? No, I don't hate it. I think it's still a decent game in its own. I've played worse games than this, but comparing it to every Ace Attorney game, it falls flat and misses the mark completely. I think the writers tried their best to make a good game, but they failed, and it's odd considering that Yamazaki, the went from Investigations 2, one of the best Ace Attorney titles, to this. The blame doesn't go to Yamazaki alone, but also the blame is on Capcom, who decided to bring back Phoenix as the protagonist for money, because Mega Man X6 was a triumphant return for the Mega Man X series, isn't it? And look at how it turned out. With that being said, I don't think the game killed the series or anything. There is spirit of justice, and despite the series is not being as good as it was, there is still alive and well. Unlike a certain best visual novel, there a hope for a comeback, and I hope the series is back to its former glory as it once was in the original trilogy.
Robin, those bands of friendship that you made, just for the three of us. You may have forgotten about them, but not me.
Hugh!
Ah.
Hey, Hugh!
And to think, I should should have known better than to doubt my best friends.